Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff back here with co-host Chip. You guys
Good to be
know him
back,
better
Jeff.
as Chip. What's going on, man? It is so good to see you. It's been a long time, man.
Feels
I'll tell
like
you
it.
what, been holding down the fort, been trying to push XRP down to 10 cents so people could load up. That hasn't been happening so fast, but maybe one day again, and then the rocket takes off. But I'll tell you what, cryptocurrency will rise. And when it rises, it's going to rise fast. People are seeking for a place for their financial security. If all these events that have unfolded in such a short period of time haven't told us one thing, it's at least that you got to protect what's yours and you got to look out for your own financial security. In Ukraine, Canada, Russia, Swift, all these different things that are happening right now. Seems like the phoenix is rising, but we'll see what's going on. I don't know, Chip, you're
Yeah.
ready to kick this thing off. I am ready.
Oh,
We got some good content, some good tweets, and a lot of other great stuff.
let's do it then. Let's go, guys. Come on.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Yeah, Jeff, it feels good to be back here on the chain in the studio. And
It's awesome.
I did hang out a little bit with Coining 203. We went and got some pizza. And if I tell you it's the worst pizza I've ever had, I would probably be telling you the truth because it was pretty rough. It was like we took our own frozen pizzas to a pizzeria that had a nice oven, and then they cooked them and they put some more cheese on top of that. The old cardboard crust. But we had a great time. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of great time, and that was awesome. And
Nice.
it was great hanging out. But let's jump right into the content here. I want to give a big shout out to none other than Apex for putting this on our radar right here. Where is Apex? I just had him up there. In there, if you could go through there, just throw him up there. He says, "What's up?" But throw it up there. But big shout out to Apex for putting us on the radar. And this is none other than George Gammon, who I love. I actually have I have my own. I have a bunch of lists that I use religiously. There he is. Hey, folks, Apex, thank you for putting this on the radar. And George Gammon's one of the people in there. But, you can't see every tweet of every moment of every day. And that's why we have, people like Apex that will say, hey, check this out, guys. Look at this. So a big shout out. Really appreciate that. But if you guys don't know who George Gammon is, first of all, he's got one of the most entertaining. Jeff, who's the other guy we like that does financial stuff, does breakdowns? You turned me on to him.
There's a lot of guys that we like.
I know, but there's one guy in particular who has a really good. He breaks down stocks and what's going on in the marketplace, and he's a great. And Gammon.
Oh, yes, yeah.
What's his name? What I can't think of his name
Just
off the
spaced
top.
out of.
It's like spaced out. I was like,
but I just spaced out on him. I can
because you're always like we flip videos back and forth with each other. Like, hey, check this one out. But George Gammon is one of those people who really brings it all on a lot of different fronts. First of all, on the financial front, if you ever watch his whiteboard presentations, they're legendary. They're phenomenal. But also, too, the geopolitical stuff is so on point. He's probably one of the best people you'll enjoy following on Twitter. And you might not agree with everything he says. I agree with almost everything he says, pretty much, almost spot on. And it was really refreshing to see this series of tweets from him. And he put this out. And here, I'll tell you, we got to get him on the show, Jeff. I mean, we did reach out to him about a year and a half ago or something like that. But there he is. Tom Nash as well. Thinking about, Tom Nash is the other guy you want to spend some time. Thanks, Jeff. Tom Nash is the other guy with 300,000 subs on YouTube. And I remember when he first started, I was like an early subscriber. I think he only had 15 or 20,000 and macro addict, investor, real estate, libertarian. Through my experiences, I try to help people increase their wealth and their freedom. He does a great job of that. But he put this tweet out saying, this is from Ripple. If Nostro accounts are eliminated, the offsetting asset for the transfer of a liability, in parentheses, in quotes, money, would be XRP. Why would a bank hold an asset that had risk of being repriced against liabilities? If I received a USD liability, I would want a USD asset. No? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is really, interesting, because he's pointing out a couple different things. And it also kind of reminds me of these conversations that people have had early on about exit ramps. Everyone kept talking about the exit ramp. How are you going to take your money out of the crypto space, right? You want to take it out quickly, and there was a lot of conversation about, moving your money away from XRP, moving it away from digital assets, putting it back into fiat. And so this kind of reminds me of that, that debate and that argument, but from this perspective, also really interesting because, he's emphasizing this idea of getting rid of those accounts that are currently, packed, filled with fiat that sits stagnant. You think about
Hmm.
how many millions upon millions and, millions of dollars just sitting there. And now you could utilize XRP, or really is referring to the ODL, the on-demand liquidity.
Correct.
Important.
Look at this here. So this is Sean Smith. He says, hi from Western Australia. Great to see someone like George Gammon starting to scratch the surface of XRP. I suspect that scratch will turn into a deep dive. Yeah, no doubt about that. And this is basically what he's showing. This is it right here, settlement through digital assets on XRP. And shows Bank A, the XRP ledger in the center. And then on the other side, it's got Bank B. And what it's showing here, the arrangement allows for the transacting banks to settle payments using XRP as a digital asset. XRP's reach into exotic corridors and average daily trading volume higher than most exotic currencies makes it an ideal bridge asset for selling transactions between banks. And this is kind of key too, Jeff, from something that's bubbling up too, which is some of the conflict we have going on with Russia and Ukraine, and also to what's happening with China and the SWIFT banking payment system. There's a lot
Man,
going on. A lot.
it really is. It's all coming to a head right now. I mean, it's crazy. We got a lot of different articles and videos specifically highlighting, that fact, and we'll get into that later. But what he's talking about here and what's unfolding in real time right now, it's unprecedented. It's like we have
Oh,
this rush of everything that's happening in crypto and the movement to crypto. And we were looking, Chip, not that long ago, everyone kept referencing these black swan events. And, all of a sudden we went through 2 years of downturn and shutdowns, and we saw what now we're seeing, potential real life, reality black swan events that were just unanticipated that could fuel the growth in this space right now.
no, exactly. And George Gammon finishes it up saying the Ripple net's similar to FedWire and XRP similar to bank reserves, but cross-border and low fees because validators work for free, whereas legacy systems, the entities playing validator role charge high fees. He's got the right idea here. It doesn't, if you start like picking apart his words and everything he's saying, it doesn't really matter. I think the point of it is that he understands the broader concept of what's happening here.
It's a wake up, so people have an awakening when they become when they do finally wake up, they become extremely strong proponents of. And so now we're starting to see that. Look at, exactly what happened to Gasperino and, Eleanor Tourette, in terms of,
Yeah.
when they started really getting into, wow, why is the SEC coming after Ripple? What's up with XRP? What was going on, with Clayton and Hinman? What was going on with Ethereum? And now you see Charles, or George Gammon's waking up to this idea that maybe the way banks were working before wasn't really accurate. So maybe there is a better way. Maybe
Oh,
Swift isn't the end all be all.
oh, absolutely. And if you let's pull this tweet up here. So Jim D says peasants are now woke to how vulnerable they are to fascist central banks and will flock to crypto. One, Canada's fascist confiscation of both dollar, money, and two, you got the G7 central banks blackmailing Russia via SWIFT. So, but again, this whole idea, and I actually find it really funny of some of the stuff that's going on out there. People you thought were champions in the past. It's so funny that when you get them on TV or you get them in an interview and you sit them down, start talking about it, and all of a sudden what do they love to do? Centralized control of everything. And we'll see some of that that's going on, especially with Christine Lagarde, once thought was a champion, then started backing off a little bit, and then it's gone full fascist.
She's gone full nut job. She's
Full
joining
nut
the
jobs.
ranks with I think she's been sipping some of that or maybe she's smoking on the pipe with Elizabeth Warren. I think maybe there's something going on over there. Something going on. Yeah, they're not
Right here.
quite on the right oh, look at this. What do we got?
Yeah, go ahead and read that, Jeff.
We have this from Parsa Persian. What's going on, Parsa? Glad you're commenting here. See, bank freeze bank runs and sanctions is showing the problem with SWIFT system and banking cartel. Even though crypto is owned by bankers, they're changing their face and remark themselves. And this is really interesting. Because we are beginning to see some breakdowns in the global brick and mortar banking infrastructure, and we're starting to see a massive awakening right now. And prior to what's happened recently, we saw El Salvador, and we've seen other countries that have said, hey, you know what, we want to take a little bit of self-control. We don't want to be reliant on the global handouts. We don't want to be reliant on what the IMF says or doesn't say. They don't want to be tied to the US dollar when they're a sovereign nation. They want to try to rely on themselves.
Yeah.
Then we've seen other countries that have moved into digital asset to protect themselves. And we're seeing it from a whole different light. And so what you were saying, there's a lot of antagonists that are coming out against crypto because they know what's coming.
They do know what's coming, but everything's accelerated. Everything's been accelerating at such a crazy pace. And now what do we have coming across America? We had something start. We have that new convoy start it started in California. It's heading across. It might be through Arizona now, but it's heading across, already 2,000 strong, heading to DC. And here's the best part about it. If you want to look at hypocrisy at its ultimate finest, you don't have to look too far, right? It's too easy to point out. It's almost unfair. So around the Capitol, they're erecting fences. Now, what are they doing this for? Who are they trying to protect? Who are they protecting them from? Now, on the southern border, open everything up, come on in. They're worried about another border in a country that's not even an ally of the United States. We've gone full crazy town, Jeff. I mean, it's full crazy town. And so, people like, the resident right now in the White House is erecting a fence in one of his homes. You had Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, putting up a giant fence around their house. So they like to protect themselves, just don't want to protect anybody else. It's gone full, crazy. And the thing about it is that I don't think they're going to slow it down. The whole idea with XRP, and there's also a tweet that I wanted to feature with Pomp. Pompliano put out a tweet saying, "Wow, looks like several Russian banks will be sanctioned from using the SWIFT payment system." And then John Deaton sort of like jumped in there, and John Deaton put his 2 cents in there, and he was saying that, well, if you look, nothing could be more critical right now. And then we have the SEC v. Ripple. It's never been more important. And then what happened? You had back in 2018, Brad Garlinghouse speaking very publicly about Ripple XRP replacing the SWIFT payment system. And then as we circle back to Pompliano's tweet, normally a Bitcoin maxi, one of the things he emphasized was alternate payment systems are going to start getting a little bit more valuable. And Jeff, do you know one that can settle in 4 seconds, full interoperability and liquidity? Do you know anything like that? Well, hell yeah, that's XRP.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, so you start looking at this stuff, and to make no mistake, everything is politically motivated. Everything has a little edge behind it, right, Jeff? I mean, wouldn't you imagine? So you're trying to lock out one of the greatest innovations of our time, and the liquidity hub is the next evolutionary step of that. The on-demand liquidity is cool. That liquidity hub is going to take it to the next level, and as a source of liquidity. And this is, I feel, where a lot of people will just get lost in the mayhem. There's so much going on, Jeff.
No, I mean, you brought up, you packed a lot into what you were just saying, and we're really starting to see, we're seeing things unfold that honestly, I was telling my son earlier, I think we moved into a parallel universe. Stuff just doesn't make any sense anymore, and it's like, would we have thought that, all of these things over the past year that we'd be sitting here? If you go back over a year ago, would we think that, we'd have inflation getting ready to skyrocket? We'd have gas prices that are exceeding at a rate that I don't think we're going to see an end in sight anytime soon. The cost of food is going up exponentially. Now we're seeing what's happening over with Russia and the Ukraine. And would we have anticipated that, Russia would be, going on this full out offensive? And then, to really, add more fuel to that. We saw right before those things unfolded, we saw what happened up in Canada, and that was packed with all these other things over the previous year. But there's more and more reason that individuals and businesses and maybe even some of the smaller banks out there are looking around at this world and saying, you know what, being in a fiat might not be the best choice at this moment. And, and as we're starting, all these ideas are starting to ferment. You're starting to see some of these major regulators that are trying to preserve the brick and mortars, and they're all stepping to the forefront. And, so you've got Gary Gensler, obviously, and then you'd mentioned Christine Lagarde from the ECB. And then we've had other commentary. Before this incident with Russia, we saw commentary about Russia coming out against cryptocurrency, and then they said, no, that's not true. They were actually getting ready to embrace it. So a lot of
In a big way,
misinformation
Jeff.
that's being spread around the world.
In a very big way. Then Charles Gasperino put this tweet out not too long ago. Breaking tweet. He says, one bank CEO just told me that if we and the rest of the world really wanted to squeeze Russia, we would ban Bitcoin immediately. So much of the Russian economy runs on illicit activities tied to crypto. I'm not endorsing this, of course, but don't be surprised. And he finishes it off with, if this hasn't been expressed to the White House. Now, Jeff, what are your thoughts on, first of all, how are they going to ban Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I'm actually surprised. It'd be, I would, I you know, it'd be interesting to know which bank CEO had mentioned that to him. So the banks are still thinking that. I would hope that Charlie Gasperino would clarify things a little bit in his tweet.
Well, he probably
Give
can't, Jeff.
give some. Yeah, I'm sure he can't give some kind. Well, I'm thinking just some commentary. I guess he's just presenting what they said, but I would like to see some commentary from him regarding this idea that Bitcoin, that they're not going to be utilizing Bitcoin if it's for illicit activity. They have a lot of other ways to circumvent the system. In fact, Russia has their own SWIFT mechanism, and they have enough players out there that they're working with, that I have a feeling the US still buying gas from Russia, Germany still buying gas from Russia,
Yeah.
China still buying gas from Russia. Iran is still in working with Russia. Saudi Arabia recently signed some military contracts with Russia. So where are the sanctions? And how are these sanctions going to be really pressing on them? And even if they were to freeze Bitcoin, how's that going to hurt Russia? That's going to hurt everybody else. They can't do it unless they start shutting down the world. But if they really wanted to,
that's plan B, Jeff. That's coming. So don't worry about
right?
that. Don't worry about that. It's on the horizon.
Exactly. But here's my last thought on that, and we'll move on. But is that if you really wanted to make a statement, the U.S. would turn back to the pipelines here, and we'd see the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline, go back on, and we'd have everything back on in terms of our energy independence, and we'd ramp that up, and we'd start exporting our oil, our gas, and that would automatically then start pushing the price of gas down. It's interesting that Russia took this action after we shut down. So a year in, gas prices were already going crazy. Before Russia did anything, gas prices were already getting out of control. And that's because the price of the barrel has been rising. And guess where they make a lot of their revenues? They make it off selling oil. And before, when oil was, $40, $50 a barrel, they weren't making so much. But when it's near 100, they're doing
Right.
pretty well.
Right, boosted their economy in a big way. And, this is one of the things that happened in the previous administration where they had that, where they were trying to build a pipeline. And again, you have Germany. I mean, they're basically, you look at Europe and it's basically on the Russian tea, right? I mean, that's what's really happening here. I mean, it is really being powered 100%. One thing I wanted to add, I want to get your thoughts on this. So this is Jungle Inc. He commented on Charlie Gasperino's tweet. He said, clown, he's got a little clown emoji. He says 22 billion in global volume, and you're telling me a significant portion of the Russian economy is running on Bitcoin? Ukraine is 15 billion a day itself.
Yeah.
But Jeff, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's so much that I've been wanting to say over the last couple of days, and I'm trying to say it all tonight, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to all get out there. But Jeff,
it all in here.
But
was Gasperino saying that, or was he saying that the CEO?
No, he wasn't saying that. But
CEO was
right. It was his tweet, right? And Jungle's basically setting it straight, like, come on. But when I start to see governors say that they're going to destroy Russian vodka, I'm like, we've turned into the clown show, Jeff. So who does that hurt? It hurts small business. They're like dumping out Russian vodka. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. Who gets hurt? Small business owners. Now they're going to try to take all that back. And what is that going to do? It's just like when they started complaining about the straws. Well, the straws, we got to make them paper straws. When it's a 1/100th of 1% of what's in the oceans. Meanwhile, we got billions of these damn masks floating around. Guess what? They are not going away anytime soon, right? They're not going to end up in but that's cool. Why don't we ban straws? So this is the whole sort of idea, this whole sort of like illogical mindset that goes on. And then everyone jumped on a bandwagon. Yeah, let's get the Russian vodka. And I'm like, no, man. And by the way, there's people in a chat that volunteered to open up their warehouse to keep it safe, just in case. And you know who you are. You know who you are out there.
That Russian,
stockpile
the Russian vodka.
Yeah, let's keep it safe.
Have a party.
Stoli. Anybody want some Stoli? Stoli.
Yeah, Stoli.
Yeah, and so that's going to do something.
That's going to complete, nut job here, And so again, this just goes back to, just bad policy, and it's very clear. It's an energy thing, and it was very, poignant to see how things have unraveled over the past year. And all of the things happening on a global scale are highlighting and underscoring the need for digital asset decentralization. We know that decentralization equals freedom, and people around the world are looking for that. Now, to put this into perspective, you can't punish the currency that individuals are trading with. Now, this is interesting too, that they want to put a stranglehold on Russia, through all these punitive measures, yet Russia's still going to figure out a way to be okay. Just like, in Cuba or North Korea, the leadership always seem to find a way to be okay, but the individuals, the people of those countries typically suffer exponentially. And so, we're going to see another round of suffering, from at the personal level, but at the people level. But in Russia, I don't know. They have enough trade partners that I don't see. But again, how can you single out the bad guy? Why are you going to single out Russia? Why are you going to single out vodka from Russia? Or why are you going to single out Bitcoin? Why are you going to single out a digital asset? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
But you're right, Jeff. It just goes to show you how nonsensical it all is. Let's ban Bitcoin, everyone, and then you see all the crypto Twitter. Yeah, let's ban crypto. I mean, what are we turning into a complete crazy town? And then you had mentioned this earlier, but this is Christine Lagarde, ECB president. She's calling for crypto regulation to prevent sanction evasion. So I basically said, well, here's the translation. What that means: we need more centralized control over decentralized digital assets. I'm
glad you caught that. I missed that.
They've gone complete. I mean, it's just insanity over here. Like, can you imagine that? We need more regulation to prevent sanction evasion. That's the whole point of a decentralized asset, Jeff. It's like totally missing the thing. And, Christine Lagarde is really disappointed. She went from being, pretty promising, not only with Ripple, hobnobbing with Brad Garlinghouse at some of these hoity-toity, meetings of the biggest and brightest banks, which looked very promising. But now her calling for this whole regulation stuff. seems a little bit. I mean, but you got to look at
The
it from her.
timing is bad. Timing is very bad.
The timing's bad, but I understand it from their perspective. I mean, I understand it. You're a central bank. You want to go ahead and protect yours, but again, she was very pro, had nice things to say about not only Ripple but XRP. You got like the latest scenarios going on in crisis involving Russia led to new discussions about the need to impose crypto regulation. So you go like, okay, yeah, we need regulation. But then you say Russia over the last few days invaded Ukraine. The response to the invasion has been condemned globally. Sanctions might not have far-reaching effects on the country as expected because the Russian government could possibly use crypto assets to evade these sanctions.
But this is pure insanity. This goes back to the demophrenia, which is the schizophrenic natures of democracies. And now we're looking at Europe, not all, democracies, but there's some freedom of choice rolling around over there.
Yeah,
And so now what we're seeing is more imposition of crazy ideas to come up with punitive, unreasonable, unrational, or irrational. I say unrationalized, but
that too.
irrational policy that's trying to prevent something that they don't even know if it's going to happen. But they're going to put these punitive measures out there. It makes no sense whatsoever. But you know what? I have a feeling that Christine Lagarde was hanging out with Trudeau, and Trudeau likes to shut people's bank accounts down and was, going after people's digital asset exchanges. So why wouldn't the ECB over there, the European Central Bank, also look at ways to start putting a stranglehold on people? And it's all it's going to do is punish individuals in Europe, and it's going to help put a little bit of a cap on this growing asset class. But here's my thought. Other than all of that, Chip, my thought on that is that they've always been looking for a reason to put the noose around crypto. And that's it.
That's right.
And this is the reason.
Yeah. It's crazy. When you look at what's, I don't even know, where do you start on this whole thing? It's just insane, right? I mean, the whole thing to me, and what I love about decentralized assets, the whole idea of XRP, the software that Ripple makes, the on-demand liquidity, this liquidity hub, and where this is all going. And then Jeff, you and I report often, like every other day, there's a new story or stories that really tout the partnerships, the partners of Ripple that are doing partners with other, interpartnering and all that. It's growing like mad, wildfires, they say. Just going crazy out there. And the whole idea of decentralization really does come down to freedom. And what we're seeing is a push. I mean, if you wanted to suppress it, I would imagine you probably don't want to do things like what's happening in Canada. To some extent, what's happening down under. You see what's happening over there too, because just basically, you're not asking people to go there. You're telling them, hey, yeah, you could go to the bank, maybe get 20 or 30 grand out, and what do you do with it? Or you could put it into a stable coin somewhere, or you could have it held in one of your cold storage wallets, right?
Yep. So Chip, check this out. So Grandpa's bringing up a really good point here. He's saying, Ukraine news is reporting on the Biden corruption in the local news over there, right? So, there are some things that have happened over in the Ukraine, and now we've looked at, 6 years of singling out Russia as a bad guy, as an instigator of all these different things that really they, may or may not had done. There's a good chance they didn't do all the things that they were being accused for over the past 6 years. Now we've also seen a lot of conversation and discussion over phone calls in the Ukraine. We saw some of the things that happened with Biden and a representative in the Ukraine that was fired based on there's a lot of activity going on over there. So I don't know we're ever going to get the full true story. But what is happening and what seems to be very obvious and very evident is that people around the world are waking up to the need for cryptocurrency. We're seeing, like you just mentioned, the partnerships around the world, regardless of all this stuff happening, sometimes you got to see through the fog, and a lot of this is just a lot of noise pollution that's around it. Because if we go back, 10, 12, 13 years ago, as Bitcoin was rolling out, and then we looked over the years, there was obviously a lot of negative, publicity in and around Bitcoin. A lot of people had said, "Oh, look, Bitcoin's dead," and then it came back. "Oh, look, Bitcoin's dead," and then it came back. And we could also look at some of the things that then were instigative for the rollout of Ripple and XRP and Ethereum and on and on and on, right up to the point of the SEC filing the lawsuit against Ripple. And there's so many external factors that are surrounding, all of these different events, that we won't necessarily get the full glimpse of the reality of what's happening. However, if we piece all these things together, I think we're starting to see a little glimpse of that reality. We're starting to see, especially if we can connect some of those dots. We'll never be in the back room, but I'll tell you what, and I was saying this yesterday, I've said this before, when the SEC decided to target Ripple, there was more to it. A lot of it has to do with Swift, and there's concern that they're losing control over this one mechanism that helps them regulate the ebb and flow of finances around the world. And now we're seeing a very evident example of when countries have to or want to, put a cap on a country's access to Swift. Look what they're doing in Russia with Swift. Now, I'm not saying Ripple would be any different, because Ripple would still be obligated to abide by the country's sanctions. They would have to abide by the laws of the countries they operate in. But the thing is that we see bills being passed right now, Chip, that are calling for that we're calling specifically for Russia to be excluded from Swift. And we're seeing the ECB. And so we're seeing all this commotion right now to remove them from Swift. It's there's so much, there's so many things going on here. Like you said, it's hard to unpack it all.
It is a lot. And something else I wanted to show you. So again, you can see there's a bubbling up. And lately, sort of one of the go-tos for a politician running for office has been like, start saying Bitcoin, 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 right? And then they get in office and everybody forgets about the whole Bitcoin thing. And next thing you know, it's like, what about getting your checks in Bitcoin? Oh, that wasn't possible. And then they go full crazy town, right? And so this right here, Dennis Porter, he has I don't know who Dennis Porter is, but he's this guy. He has a podcast called Smart People Shit. And he, look at his bio here on Twitter. Corrupt money corrupts absolutely. He's the host of the Smart People Shit podcast covering Bitcoin, politics, single issue voter, DME News, right? 72,000 followers. This, of course, is his podcast right here. You can see, he's very akin to what we do here. We do a lot of geopolitics, talk about that, but his focus is Bitcoin. We're heavily focused on a lot of digital assets. We love Bitcoin, but really we love XRP as well. And then what he's pointing out here, which I think is pretty interesting, he says, Congressional candidate from Missouri declares Bitcoin and crypto as freedom from statism and authoritarian control. Put another way here on the chain is decentralization equals freedom. That's a short version of it. But yeah, freedom from statism and authoritarian control. Go follow Taylor Burks. That's who's running. He accepts Bitcoin. He also has plans to push pro-Bitcoin legislation in the U.S. Source right here. So Taylor Burks tweeted out, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of refugees from Ukraine, some with little more than BTC, Bitcoin in their wallets. Remember that crypto means freedom from statism and authoritarian control in Congress. I'll fight for the freedom. And if we go over here to Taylor Burks right here, this is him right here. He doesn't have a banner up there, but dad, husband, believer, sailor, connoisseur of dad jokes. He's running for Congress, Taylor Burks for Congress. And then if we look over here, Navy veteran, proud Missourian, Peruvian leader, and but you can also donate right here. Check this out. There it is, right there. Look at that, Jeff.
Bitcoin. Look at that. You can with BitPay.
Ethereum, Litecoin,
Yep.
Doge.
Now he's not accepting the asset directly.
Right.
BitBoy will BitBoy
Bitcoin, Bitboy, BitPay.
Bit BitPay will convert it direct, back into the fiat of choice. But I think that that's an important statement that he's making, and we saw that in Ohio about 2 or 3 years ago, where they started using BitPay. I was gonna say BitBoy again. They started
Jeez,
to
Jeff.
use BitPay
Come on,
to
man.
allow their citizens over there to start Ohio residents, I should say, to start paying taxes in crypto, which very cool.
Notorious, thank you for that. Appreciate that super
Notorious.
sticker. Well, let's look at him. 14 years, a U.S. naval officer, 3 combat deployments, 5th generation Missouri farm family. Think he's got the best interests going on? So you go like, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, who is he? He's born and raised in Missouri. He's decorated U.S. Navy lieutenant commander. Sounds good enough, right? I mean, it all sounds like it's pretty good.
Sounds great.
And yeah, and then you go like, well, let's look at the issues. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, election integrity, protecting life, fiscal responsibility, supporting our troops, preserving our freedoms. And look at, you can see right there, Jeff. So yeah, you start to you see all of a sudden, yeah, okay, I see what's up with this guy. I mean, there's a little bit more about him as well.
That's where I was this morning.
What's that?
I went to Nexus this morning.
Gotcha.
A lot of fun.
Nice. Well, it always is. And there you go. You have it right there. There's somebody talking about it, but also you have to look. You have to look at what are their policies. What are they looking to do? He talks about the authoritarian control, really big, very important. And I just love to see what's happening because we're starting to see more of this bubble up. I mean, you look about 2 years ago, people weren't talking about people running for office were not talking about Bitcoin. They weren't talking about digital assets. You barely, Ted Cruz went on the floor and said, I don't think there's 5 people in Congress that even understand what digital assets or Bitcoin are. That was only months ago. So to see this kind of action is I think it's just outstanding.
Yeah, no, it's definitely making a big statement. We're starting to see states that are starting to move in the direction of becoming, more normalized to crypto. Florida, Wyoming, Texas, maybe Missouri, and we've got a few others. But that's good. That's a good direction that we're moving in. I think it's critical, obviously, and we're going to see that more and more. New York, California, maybe a few others might not be so friendly, although you did see the mayor of New York came out. Like, I think you kind of referenced that. He's big rah. He's going to get his first 3 paychecks, his first 3 in cryptocurrency, and then come to find out he was getting paid in cash, regular fiat, and then he was going to go out and buy the crypto. I don't know if he ever proved to anyone that he actually did.
Did he share his wallet with anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like
Was he
someone to
transparent?
follow up. Maybe someone saw the news. Maybe he shared it. Maybe he was sitting there and said, look, I'm going to move my $20,000 over into cryptocurrency. Not sure if that happened, but Mayor Suarez in Miami really has brought things to the forefront with true crypto investment, as we have seen the rollout of the Miami coin and, making this area more crypto friendly. So I don't see that so much in New York, as people still can't buy XRP with Uphold. So I don't even know if they can use Uphold in New York. Can anyone confirm or deny that? I have a feeling Uphold is not available. Is that true?
I don't believe it is, Jeff. I mean, somebody will let us know in there. Something else I saw making the rounds on other channels and on crypto Twitter, but just to put a little perspective of it, Jim Rickards, who we've talked about before, he's a best-selling New York Times author. He wrote The New Great Depression, Aftermath, Road to Ruin, Death of Money, Currency Wars, The New Case for Gold. So he's a thought leadership around it, but he put out a tweet saying, I did this interview. It was an interview on CNN. I did this interview so long ago, I forget when it was. What matters is I got everything right. And if you look at him, he looks like a young man. It looks like it might have been a long time ago, like at least 5-6 years, because if you see him today, I was like, wait a minute, that's Jim Rickards? What? But let's go ahead and let's see if we can share this right here, Jeff. Yeah, we got a video right here. So this is what he was talking about. This is what he was alluding to here, this particular video right here. And if you don't hear, let me know right away. Here we go.
All these countries are trying to get out from under dollar hegemony, and that's going to happen.
And then there goes the power of the U.S. to impose these sanctions, right?
Correct, because if you, first of all, they're all building alternate payment systems. Even the German foreign minister the other day said Europe needs an alternate payment system. They could do cryptocurrencies. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. I don't like Bitcoin at all. But you could create a new cryptocurrency with a distributed ledger with China and Putin. So imagine a Xi coin and a Putin coin. They could denominate it in SDRs. That's a special drawing right. That's the world money that comes from the IMF. They could back it up with gold. And notice that the dollar is not involved. Everything I just described doesn't involve the dollar. So that's why this could, if the U.S. doesn't reassert dollar hegemony, one good way to do that would be if the U.S. started buying more gold. I don't expect that to happen, but that would be part of my advice. If the U.S. doesn't do that, again, this whole alternate system, it's being created now. This is not science fiction, but it could affect the dollar very, very rapidly.
Thoughts, Jeff?
Interesting statements. And this is one, it's really important, as the U.S. has really maintained its position with the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency. And now we're starting to see, a lot of changes from a financial perspective. Once we move in this direction of digital currency, there's a good chance that we're going to see that race, kind of take on a whole new life, but he isn't wrong about this idea, but, we saw there has to be some legitimacy to the asset. So you can't just have a Putin coin and expect that all of a sudden it's going to have value and that all of a sudden China is going to want it. He mentioned that it would be backed up by SDR, which is an IMF phenomena, so you would have to then have to say, okay, Putin is now going to guarantee his Putin coin based on the SDR. I don't see that really happening in a reality. I don't see China doing that either. China has rolled out and tried to prove their digital yuan as a currency, as something of value. We know it's 100% centralized and backed up based off of their treasury. So it's instead of the regular fiat yuan, it's their digital yuan, and they're trying to roll it out and gain some legitimacy with that asset. Why wouldn't Putin do the same thing if he really wanted to? He could create a digital ruble, and I think they've discussed it. And then there'd have to be some value to back it up. And all of a sudden, they're, I guess he did say backed by gold. Irishman is bringing that up. But right, I guess that's a good point too. That is backed up. Their currency would be backed by gold. So there would be some value, but I still think, there'd have to still be legitimacy to say, okay, that digital asset really is then going to be backed. Right now, I don't think too many are excited about accepting the ruble. I don't think that that's an exciting currency that people are trading on a regular basis. I still think if it's going to go down to be trading gold, trading oil, trading maybe based off the euro, maybe based off of a different currency, but it wouldn't be the digital Putin.
Yeah, and you look at this picture here. You look at this is Rickards today. So I mean, he looked like a young man almost. I mean, that was some time ago. That must have been. I'd love to find out when that was, but he said he did it so long ago he didn't remember it. I think what's important there is conceptually he called it right. So he talks about there's a system underway. Yeah, of course there is. It's called it's Ripple XRP is what it is, and by him trying to make it available to anybody watching, it's a Xi coin or a Putin coin. And again, obviously use case wise, but his point was that you could do something like that. It doesn't mean that it would be, but he says, I did it so long ago. I forget when I even did it, but what matters, I got everything right. It's all playing out today. And he's absolutely spot on about that. It's crazy talk, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is crazy, Tom.
Of course, Alan, very easy hydroponics. Alan says we need an on the chain coin backed up by XRP and XLM. We can all join together and chip in. Love that key phrase there, chip in. Make it a $10,000 coin limit to 1 million coins. Ah, you're onto something, right?
I think he's onto something.
He's onto
I think
something
that's
there.
strong. And then Daddy G is going to come and visit us and
Yeah,
say
no,
something about
yeah, I'd be like, you guys didn't come in there. Jeff, we had this one right here, but I just want to show people. This was a John Deaton tweet, one of his famous tweets, threads. But it's about how ETH became the only game in town. Now, I'm just going to like scroll down so you guys can see. Obviously, this would be a show in itself. We're not going to get into this, but what I'm going to do is drop this inside of the so you guys can read it yourself. It's awesome, and it's nothing less
to be on the website, and they'll find it.
It'll be on the website. The best place to find that would be on the website, on thechain.io. All the stuff we talk about, you guys can find it there. So, but it's amazing. He said we received a tiny bit more of the Hinman deposition. He sent an email to Joe Lubin. We don't know which meeting with Lubin the email refers. Notice how Ripple's lawyer asked, and what was that WR again? What does that mean?
With regards, I think.
With regards, Clayton directing Hinman to reach out to Lubin. There it is right there. Okay, directing your attention to the email you sent to Joe Lubin. That's reflected on the page of Exhibit 17 that ends with 1454. Do you see wrote to Mr. Lubin at 2:06 p.m.? Answer from Hinman, yes. Did Chairman Clayton ask you to reach out to Mr. Lubin? Not to my recollection. Ding, ding, ding. They never remember any of this stuff, Jeff.
No, they never. No, that's the best thing. Not to my recollection.
Jeez, I don't remember. Well, that's interesting. It's interesting.
That was yesterday. I don't remember.
But here's the email. Oh, that's weird. Gosh, I don't remember sending that email. Lubin and consensus.
That's my email.
Yeah, I
mean,
of course
that was from me.
Lubin and consensus were represented by Clayton's firm Sullivan and Cromwell. Hinman left Lubin and consensus on December 13, 2017. And the very next day, Matt Corvo, Consensus's general counsel, publicly stated that Consensus was building an alliance with the SEC. After one meeting, hey, man, it's all sewed up. Now, it could have been wishful thinking. A lot of stuff could be going on there. This is Matt Corvo right here talking about it. And I've seen this clip. I think we might even have played this clip. There he is right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, blockchain. Yeah, we probably played this. He was talking about getting to a place where token sales better protect consumers. So Vinny talked about a couple of things like transparent pre-sales. That's a big thing. No one should have a 10,000% discount. People shouldn't be flipping tokens on consumers. And things like lockups, things like restrictions, trading and speculation could reduce harm to consumers. So all of a sudden he's like turned in the SEC in one meeting, Jeff.
That was quick. That was quick. Hey, I just want to go back to this, a few funny things that popped up in the chat. It started out with Desert Fox. 1 OTC coin equals 1 lemon, so we roll out the OTC coin, and then Rob McDermott said, then OTC rug pull by Berserker. So now we're kind of moving in the wrong direction. Desert Fox OTC coin is backed by lemons. And then
Yikes.
Matt LaRue, short squeeze OTC lemon coin and make lemonade. And there you go.
Man, that's a whole thing right there.
Excitement right here in
that's a whole thing, but we don't have to get into the whole thing, but it's just a monster tweet thread. It's just fantastic on so many levels. What I love about it is every step of the way there's video backing it up. It's not like, well, this happened. No, there's a video of it. So if you guys can go down to chain.io and actually watch that and watch it unfold, which is pretty fascinating. And then I wanted to put this up. I was JC, who's also a fan of the show, put this out. I wanted to show this because, guys, you got to be careful out there. He says, guys, please help me share this video with others. I got scammed a few days ago. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. It's painful and frustrating. Thanks a lot. Of course, a Solana crypto scan. What he's doing right here is showing what happened. I should back it up a little bit. But, essentially, he connected his wallet and got scammed. There you go. So there you go. There's Solana.
Who did he connect his wallet to?
SolC NFT giveaway.
Okay. Well, that would be
one of the 500,000 SolC users received this NFT token from SolC. Change token to claim your NFT gift at airdrop.solc.cx.
Oh, wow.
So he went there and connected it. Well, yeah,
getting-
because this is just somebody scamming off the thing. It wasn't the right address. That's not SolC, but you see it says airdrop.solc.cx.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, if you're not, again, this can happen to anybody. JC is
So
very
what
versed.
happened when he did it? Did he end up
Well, there you go.
losing
There's
his?
Phantom right there. So he's
Did they
connected
wipe
his
out his
Phantom.
wallet, or what happened?
Yeah, you get scammed.
Huh.
And there you go.
Man,
So you're
That
basically
sucks.
connected at the website. They're going to take all your, yeah, not good. But again, it's like this happens, and my heart goes out because it's horrible. There it is right there, Jeff. Connect the wallet. See, Phantom has access to the site. He connected his wallet. It's a scam site. You really just can't be careful enough. And
You
this,
gotta be so careful. You know what?
I don't like these browser plugins, Jeff. I don't like
well,
them.
it goes beyond that too. Think about even QR codes. So someone brought up a really good point. There was a whole story that came out on QR codes, and not necessarily in crypto specific, but you're running around, scanning QR codes, menus, and all sorts of things. What's to stop someone from, putting a QR code, on someone's, on these restaurant tables? They go back, take a picture, make the exact duplicate sticker while they're sitting there eating. They put their scam QR code on the table. You go in, scan the QR code, think you're on the menu, and they're, taking all sorts of information. All these different things are happening. And so there's some definite issue with some of this new technology out there that we have to be very, very aware of. And even, that's why I was even hesitant. There's a QR code when Coinbase, they're bouncing a QR code around the screen.
That's right.
Why are we scanning all these QR codes? And then we're connecting and logging in and sharing data and moving money that way. It's not 100% foolproof.
Nothing's foolproof. That's the whole point. Is you got to be really, really careful. And anyone that's been scammed or lost money, it's rough. It is. Jeff, you sent me a really good interview. It was John Kennedy at CPAC this past weekend in Orlando. That was just phenomenal. He's the one who coined the "Are you their daddy?" That's what he asked. He asked that of Gary Gensler. I did. It's phenomenal. I did.
Kennedy is
and
awesome.
funny too.
The whole thing.
It's like, eating right will definitely make you look sexier naked. So will alcohol. That's like, guys, the guys are nuts.
Oh my
Guys are
God.
nuts.
So he goes, how'd that get in there?
He goes, I'm not a guy that likes to impress people, but I went to a very expensive place this morning. It was the gas station. The price is almost MG. But I love how he led you down that little path there,
Oh my God. You can't
Look
fix
at Freedom
stupid.
Chief right here. Look at this right here. He says CBDCs will clear in private ledgers. Those private ledgers can cut any CBDC out if agreed upon. Said CBDC can clear in public ledger but be worthless. There's also per announcement. And Jeff, again, I was sounding the bell. You were sounding the bell, the whole CBDC. I'm like, the very problem we have with this is the whole idea of central. First C stands for central. Central bank digital currency. And I said, well, wait, there's too many things they can do with it. Now, this is before the Canada situation and a lot of things went down. I think even down under. We started saying like I'm not down with these whole CBDCs. I think they could be horribly dangerous. I mean, the idea that what you could do and how it could affect it. I get the Ripples, and Stellar Foundation and other people. There's a lot of other projects that are looking to support the CBDC, but I just don't know if I trust the government to do the right thing. I mean, I don't. Do you?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And obviously, we went through the report. The Fed, looked at CBDCs, and part of the report back was we have to make sure we maintain the privacy of the individual. But so what? So what if they say that? I mean, right now with cash, you maintain your privacy. With credit card, for the most part, you maintain your privacy. But one thing that we've noted with how things have unfolded up in Canada, you can have your accounts shut off without due process, without being accused of anything, without going to trial, without a judge giving judgment over something. You can just be shut out, whether you supported, donated, or what have you. And then yeah, it's a scary place for people to be in. And so that's right here in Canada. We've seen how things have react. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter, what form of government. People are awakening to this idea and they're shocked to awaken to the idea of how bad people can get, where you least expect it, and it can, really impact you financially. Whether it was in California, shutting down businesses, or New York or elsewhere, and people were struggling, because of that. And then you look at, hey, you know what? If you can have some self-reliance, all over the world, it's not just here in the States, obviously Canada and Australia, but countries that have suffered like Venezuela over the years, or El Salvador, or Lebanon, or whatever, what have you. People are waking up, whether in the developing part of the world or in the developed. So I think it's really, really critical.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, I mean, we're at a critical time right now, and I want to throw this up there because you want to just go to see exactly sort of a. This is the national anthem of Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love and all his sons command. Glowing hearts, we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free from far and wide. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. So you look at this, Jeff, and you really have to really kind of look at this from a standpoint of man, this is a proud people. These are people who are free, have been free, and now it's all gone sort of south. Oh, there's JC right there. Yeah, hey, listen, man, it's like, and it can happen to the best of us, and it will, and it probably, this isn't all in our future. But JC, thanks for getting that out there, and thanks for sharing your experience, because it's going to help somebody else. Someone's going to see that, and it's going to help them. It's going to help a lot of us. But again, the reason we bring it up is because people think, oh, like that would never happen to me. Oh yeah, it's real easy to happen. It's like it catches you at a moment or whatever, and the whole idea, it's just rough. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. Thank you for that, JC. Thank you for pointing it out. And it takes a big man to do that. It'd be easy to just skirt it on the carpet and say, oh, that didn't happen to me. But putting yourself out there, trying to help others, speaks loudly about who you are and your integrity, and you're a big man for doing it, man. So, and again, believe me, we've all had incidents. It's okay. We've all had things not go so right. And maybe not along the lines of that, but look, that's the big deal with the adoption, Jeff. That's where we stand right now.
It is, we have to band together. We have to be cognizant. We have to take action. We have to take action as a community. And I think that's where we're going to get, more self-regulation, I think, is probably the best place to start. We already know where some of the regulatory bodies like the ECB, we saw how Christine Lagarde just waiting for a crisis to take advantage of in order to put a stranglehold on crypto. Gary Gensler waiting for a crisis in order to put a stranglehold on crypto, or just acting irrational. Yeah, or just acting irrationally right from the beginning. So, and this is where a little bit of self-regulation and really trying to create an environment of safety. And I think as we start moving more and more in that direction, and it's in everybody's best interest, whether it's from an exchange perspective or even like a Solana, if those guys are going to be involved in those types of, gifts and airdrops, they have to be very, proactive to say, look, make sure you monitor, all these different elements. And, then there's going to be some responsibilities that are going to fall back onto the ways that some of these things are being promoted through YouTube or Twitter or, what have you. And the big tech needs to take some responsibility, to really start, identifying some of these scams. And these scams for the past years have been notified to the big tech, and they ignore them over and over and over and over again. And it's happened on YouTube. We see those scam YouTube videos. So yeah, we're all in the same boat where we got to definitely watch each other's back and report it when it happens, and we'll all be better for it.
Jeff, what we're looking at right here is onthechain.io again. So when do we broadcast, by the way, in case anybody needs
sometimes
here and there.
Sometimes here and there, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you happen to tune in and catch us. Make sure if you're brand new here, you've hit the subscribe buttons. That way you're subscribed to On The Chain. Go to onthechain.io and find the links to our podcast as well. But Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning as well, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of great things happening always. So tomorrow night is another night, and we'll be back here, Chip, you and I, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to cover more great things that are happening.
Absolutely, guys. It's a new week. Let's see where the week takes us, but we'll be there together. We'll get through it together. Geez, that hour went quick. That's what we always say. We're like, I look up and I'm like, well, how did this happen? Just started. Show just started 5 minutes ago, right?
Time operates on a whole different
it's OTC time, man. It's a whole different thing. It's just to get engaged, everything's good, and you're like, I want it to keep going. It's like, we got to keep it to an hour, but anyway, that's all I have. We'll see you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff out. Have a good one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.